The FluCast application enables hospital administrators and planners to forecast the current week's flu cases. This is accomplished by combining the history of flu cases in that hospital with the Google Flu trend from the region that the hospital is located. The FluCast application uses the zip code of the hospital to map that hospital to either a major metropolitan area that the Google Flu Trends collect trend data for, or if the hospital is more than 100 kilometers away from one of the major metropolitan areas that Google Flu is tracking, the application will then use the statewide Google Flu trend. This Google Flu trend is not an absolute number. It is a rate of number of people out of every 100,000 that are seeking treatment for influenza-like symptoms. Therefore, while more local data will be more potentially accurate, it will not be skewing the results to use state information if that is more if the hospital is too far from a metropolitan area to feasibly associate it with that metropolitan area. So, for example, if your hospital was located in Missoula, Montana, obviously, as you can see from the map here, there are no Google Flu hospital or Google Flu metropolitan areas anywhere near Missoula, Montana. Therefore, the application behind the scenes would map your hospital to the Missoula, Montana, or the statewide Montana Google Flu trends that Google is collecting. Hope that's clear to everybody. So, once again, this application combines the trends, the actual numbers of flu cases week by week over at least 4 years of data and the current year in your hospital. So the real data that you have of flu cases will be used, and then it will be combined with these flu trends that Google is actually tracking. And the way they do that is you can look at it. You can go to Google's website, google.org/flu trends, to get into all the details of how Google calculates these trends. But basically, they look at search queries and are able to make inferences about the number of people or the potential rate of people with flu-like symptoms in any particular area that they are tracking these trends for. So, back to how things work. So we're going to go ahead and choose an existing hospital. So we already have our data predefined. Now, over time, of course, we always will need a complete record for the current year in order to predict the current week's flu cases. So, over time, you may have to residually enter a few of the missing weeks as time goes by. So that's one thing to keep in mind when you're using these forms. Excuse me. The application does take a little while to collect the current the flu prediction dates. Now, we have two dates here in the date range. We have the start date, which is on the left, and that's the date. Now, that does not affect any of the forecasting. And I repeat that because that's an important point. It may appear to some folks that you're only taking into account the hospital data from the start date, but that's not true. All of the hospital data that you enter, and now we've gone above and beyond the 4-year requirement. As you can see, we've actually have data for this hospital from 2008, 2007, and 2006, and all of this data will always be used to, in the Garma prediction model to inform the forecast. So you're always going to have a very strong forecast. This date range will just determine what dates the graph actually shows. So even though all the dates are being used in the Garma model that predicts or forecasts your current week's flu cases, only dates back to March 17th, if we use this date, will be displayed in the graph. So it keeps your graphs a little bit more manageable if you want to have a smaller window that you're examining. Now the end date will be affecting the forecast, and that's important to note. The end date is the date that's actually forecasted. So we see here this data only goes up to 8/4 to 8/10, and we want to forecast the week starting at August 11th. So we pick August 11th here, and then we'll make a prediction. And so you see this graph will show your historical cases in the hospital, and then the red dot will be your forecasted cases for the current week. And this also appears here at the top in this header up on top, where it says we predict that the number of flu cases for the week of 8/11 will be. So it makes it very clear in the application what the prediction is. And then you can collapse and expand this window to make the graph bigger if you'd like. And you can also see the Google Flu trends for the for the region that your hospital was mapped to by toggling to the Google graph. Okay. So you can always add more hospitals. Now it's probably likely that you'll only need 1 or 2 hospitals. This is just a test profile. Usually you'll only have to add 1 or 2 hospitals, and so from here you'll usually just be choosing an existing hospital and maybe updating it to synchronize it to the most recent few weeks. So that's how the FluCast application operates, and if you have any questions, feel free to contact us here at the Pacer Project.